What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones, and AJ. We're here after a few-week hiatus for another episode of the UNC football show. I was trying to think of the last time we did one. It was before the state game, I guess. We never did one after that, did we? I know we did three things and some things like that. You've done some drops, but we haven't really been on here to talk about Carolina football.
Everything's a whirlwind right now. I'm trying to think of when the state game was. How long? That was like 2 weeks, right?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, wow. It seems like a lot longer in some way, because we've got so much going on right now with the portal and with the portal going out, portal coming in. You've got coaches on the trail. You've got signing day coming up. You got basketball and playing a very intense part of the schedule. I've had travel and all that stuff. So it's a fun time. Yeah. It is fun. It's fun. It's just very busy and almost head spinning at times. But yeah, it's been 2 weeks since we've done a football show, and there's so much to talk about. And the great thing about it is we'll have another one coming up even before we do the West Virginia game show, pregame show, a preview pod or whatever we call it, because there's going to be a lot more that happens in the football program the next 10 days. So the wheels are churning like crazy underneath the scene or behind the scenes. And we're just every once in a while seeing the effect of that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I think that's a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about. First, this show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Stay tuned. We'll talk about them a little bit later on in the show, but big thank you to them for sponsoring this one. But we're going to start with some portal news, and we're going to start with Tez Walker. Again, it seems like, I will say a disclaimer right here. We are recording this at a certain time. So when this comes out, there could have been 5 other people that have entered the portal. I mean, that's just the risk you take when you record these type of shows. So if we're not going to go in depth on every single guy, but just putting that disclaimer out there in case we don't hit on somebody that enters the portal 5 minutes after we stop recording this one. But let's start with Tez Walker, not portal related, but NFL related. I know you put out a story about Tez Walker and essentially him declaring for the NFL draft with him accepting that Reese's Senior Bowl invitation. No official statement out from him at this time in terms of him announcing it yet, but I mean, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together with that situation. So talk a little bit about Tez Walker, because I mean, I'm not really surprised he's gone to the league. I think he's got a lot of potential. And obviously with the fact that him doing that, it seems like he's received some pretty positive feedback from, NFL scouts as well. So.
Well, and people I talked to in the program 2 weeks ago, we haven't really talked much to the program since the state game. They've kind of gone dark a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. We all need to go dark on each other for a while.
Yeah, probably so.
I'm sure that they were sick of seeing some of us around for a while.
I know they were.
Need a nice break. But the thinking was that he would come back because he needed a full year of film.
Yeah.
Didn't have a full year. It was an awkward year. It wasn't really a full gauge, and that the league would probably want to see that. Then you fast forward to the night of the Tennessee basketball game and the day of the Florida State basketball game. Tez was actually back in the bowels of the arena. If anybody's watching and they've been in the Bowls room, which is now it's the practice gym.
Yeah.
A bunch of big wigs congregate there. They get, wine and
some nice hors d'oeuvres, I'm sure.
And they kind of come through a little turnstile near the men's room that the media uses and stuff. It's right by the visiting locker room. And there's a turnstile they have to go through and have their tickets scanned so they can go walk through the tunnel, go out to the court and find their seats and watch the game. Well, Tez was back there. I saw him before the Tennessee game, and I went up to him, talked to him for a few minutes. He said he was working on a class project for a sports administration class, taking tickets. So he's there taking tickets. More than anything, he's just doing selfies with people, posing for photos with people.
I'm sure.
So I talked to him a little bit about stuff. I said, hey, you have a chance to meet Max Johnson yet? And he goes, well, I haven't watched film, but I'm going to. So I come back Saturday, had the Florida State game, and Tez is there again. So I went up and talked to him a little bit, and I actually introduced him to our new intern, Chelsea Sipple,
shout out
UNC
Chelsea
student. Shout out Chelsea. You guys will see her. You saw her on one pod. You can see her on a lot of pods coming up.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I asked him about Max Johnson. He goes, yeah, well, he's here today. He goes, I'm his chaperone. And I said, so how much film you watch? He goes, I've watched a lot of film. He goes, I'm getting ready. I said, so he'll be throwing passes to you next season. He nodded. Okay, this is last Saturday.
Yeah.
But the thing is this is the week a lot of the guys are starting to get NFL information. Mm-hmm. So they have a process where kids can submit to get reports from the league. And they also have Daryl Moody in the program, who was a scout for 18 years in the NFL.
Probably knows what he's talking about a little bit. Yeah.
Knows a thing or two, and certainly can get anybody on the phone. Mm-hmm. And so he got getting information. I guess the information Tez got back was so positive. He's like, well, I need to go. I need to strike now. The thing about it is Ted never, at least as of the time we recorded this, Tez hasn't made an announcement, but it came across Thursday night when the Reese's Senior Bowl put out a tweet saying Tez Walker has accepted their invitation to play in the Senior Bowl, and you cannot play in the Senior Bowl unless you either have exhausted your eligibility, or if you have remaining eligibility, you have to have entered the NFL draft. So, and they actually just changed a waiver here in, not that long ago, maybe November, where a non-graduate with eligibility left is now, who's been in college at least 4 years, is now eligible for the Senior Bowl. Drake, to my understanding, is not eligible because he's only been in college 3 years. So it used to be strictly seniors. I mean, it was what it's called, the Senior Bowl. Yeah. Now they're going to have to say the senior and then some bowl. Yeah. Because guys like Tez Walker are going to be in it. So Cedric Gray is also playing in the Senior Bowl. That was announced a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So now they're just finding a few Tez Walker types that they're adding to the rosters, and that's the confirmation that he's leaving. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need to post. I'm sure he will. It'll be most of those tweets that kids put out when they're entering the portal or, going pro, whatever it is, they all say basically the same thing. Yeah. And
I don't even read them half the time.
Especially if you're entering the portal. Do you really have to thank people if you're entering the portal? Just go.
No, it's like, just put a little tweet out. I'm entering the portal.
I mean, if you love it so much, then why are you leaving?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like they all copy and paste the same kind of generic statement. So, I mean, again, do whatever you need to do. But I don't even bother reading them half the time. I just look for the last sentence. With all this being said, I have officially entered the draft, or I'm transferred.
What do they say after
serious consideration or something like that?
Did you see that the Durham Bulls mascot put one out?
Really? And I didn't see that.
Mocking, saying, after giving serious consideration and thought and counsel with my family, I've decided to remain as the mascot of the Durham Bulls. Mocking the whole situation.
A lot of people do that. I saw some Panthers fans putting out stuff that are transferring their fandom elsewhere because the Panthers are such a crap show.
Are they really?
Over there? Yeah, I've seen a few of those too, which is pretty funny. Pretty fun. A few of those have gone kind of viral with some of those based on how that organization's going right now. But yeah, it's same generic statements, I think, for the most part. Which is always interesting. Yeah, isn't it?
That's great. So I got to think of something I could do where I could just I could post one and tell my wife I'm not taking the trash out anymore. After serious consideration,
I'm transferring your
after serious consideration and counsel with Jacob Turner, I've decided I'm not taking the trash out anymore.
I'm transferring once a week. That responsibility elsewhere.
Well, Ellie's 14 now. It's time for her to take.
She got to step up. Got to step up.
I mean, she can only play Bee Swarm Simulator so much, right? That's great. I want everybody to do that now.
Yeah, man. Hop on the train. You see about a million of them every day.
I'm not going to eat your cooking tonight. I'm going to go through the drive-thru.
See about 1,000 transfer statements out every day with the way the portal works now. So, I mean, you might as well.
We're going to get into the portal here in a second. But, man, before we do, the thing that I get it. I like the fact that kids have freedom of movement. Although I do think there should be some limitations simply because the effect, not just on the programs, but on them, because if there are 2,000 kids in the portal, like 800, 700 are not going to find schools.
I know.
What are they going to do? No one ever talks about what they're going to do.
Yeah. A lot of people don't.
They got to go get a job. They get a job and go to community college.
Yeah. A lot of people don't even think about that. I think when they enter the portal, there's just not enough room for everybody. You know what I mean? It's just not how it works. So, yeah, I think it's unfortunate.
Well, because there's not enough money for
it's their decision.
Yeah. And there's some Carolina people been kind of keen on dumping on Mack here in the last 5 weeks or so. But I will say this, and this doesn't get enough attention. They are outstanding, this program, at finding kids landing spots.
Yeah. They do take care of them. Yeah.
When Mack says, we'll help you, we'll help you find a school. He means it, and they do.
And that's big because a lot of.
By the way, did you see the kind of year that Eugene Asante had at Auburn this year?
Yeah, really good season, 100%. So
they help kids find landing spots. It's a legit, genuine thing that they do, and I think it's fantastic. So the Carolina kids are going to land on their feet somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of kids from other schools that don't, and there's not enough attention put to that. And someone who, like the Athletics, should do a study on that. That's the kind of thing that they do now. Mm-hmm. They should do a study on something like that. I don't have the time to do it. Plus, the school I cover is really good at finding kids homes, so it's kind of irrelevant to what we do, but it's relevant in the grand scheme of things. So that all being said, I guess that's a segue into we could talk a little bit more about the portal.
Yeah, we'll hit on it. I mean, we're not going to run through every guy, and I'm sure there'll be other people that have entered the portal by the time this comes out. But, there has been a good handful of guys that have entered the portal. Just to name a few: Kamari Morales committed to Boston College recently, Tayon Holloway, those kind of being the guys that actually played or, were starters at one point for this team. Sebastian Cheeks, Deuce Caldwell, George Pettaway, some other guys. I'm not going to list everybody, but for me, we had the similar conversation last year of, again, A, this is just the new landscape of college football, so there's no need to overreact. And B, I mean, if you look at it, 90% of these guys either didn't play a lot or didn't really play at all or just played special teams. So, I mean, I think Carolina's not losing starters necessarily. Again, there's a couple in there that you can say, but for me, this is just a normal offseason in college football. Again, AJ, I don't really look too much into it besides that. That's just my opinion. But.
Yeah, well, and quite frankly, they haven't had as many goes so far as we thought they would. Yeah. Holloway's the only surprise for me.
That one was a little surprising,
because he played a lot. He played probably more than he should have. Mm-hmm. They gave him every opportunity to prove himself.
He was injured at one point too, correct me if
I'm wrong. But he played really well in stretches and not well in stretches, and that's what you expect from a young guy. But he's the last of the 757 guys. They're done.
Yeah, that's an interesting, isn't it? Because that was such a hotbed for Carolina, and it's been an exodus, man. It's just an exodus.
Yeah, and there were some comments made by Coach Glover on Twitter the other day that
I didn't see that.
I'm sure rankled some people over in the KFC, and I'm not going to get into a whole discussion about the 757 guys, but that pipeline imploded.
It didn't really work out, did it? I mean, did any?
No, it didn't.
Nobody from that area really panned out, really. No, like they thought it would.
No. Doc Chapman surprised me a little bit too. I should say he did. Yeah, 757.
He actually had a pretty big role next year too.
Yeah, especially when it looked like you're going to have everybody back. Maybe he made that decision, thinking, "Well, Tez is going to be back." So it wouldn't be a shock, I guess, if he pulled out and came back simply because. Yeah, as it was, there was no expectation they would lose any of their receivers in the rotation. Now they've lost one. But he's a slot guy. They've already got McCollum as a slot, and I don't know. But the 757 guys are gone. A lot of the Virginia guys are gone. Andre Green's gone now. Bryson Jennings left last year. That whole Virginia to Carolina train is just about exhausted.
It's interesting.
Not a whole lot left there.
No, really.
Not a whole lot left there. So a lot of the guys that are in the portal were highly regarded. Sebastian Cheeks is a case where, look, he's had a tough time since he got to Carolina. His dad died. Injuries. And then he had the injury. And it's been a tough couple of years for him. Maybe you go somewhere closer to home and get a fresh start. Yeah. Fresh, and he's good enough that he'll find a spot. He's going to find a landing spot. So he'll find somewhere. He'll be fine. Yeah. Some of the kids, they'll find spots for these kids, but I mean, even Jalen Brooks was offered by Campbell. And that'd be a great spot for him because he originally went to West Point. He was on that West Point freshman team, whatever, or the prep school team. That's
before you get to the
before you get there. And he played some solid football and special teams as a preferred walk-on. Now go to Campbell, maybe get his postgraduate paid for.
Yeah. Go play some football too,
I think he'll have 2 years of eligibility left too. So that's kind of what it's for. Some of these kids are pushed out. Let's be honest. They're pushed out. They're encouraged to go on. I think maybe there was a surprise or two to the staff, but again, we don't know all the inner workings. Morales was not a surprise. You knew ahead of time he was going to go. But I was told in the summer Boaz was going, and I was told in the summer that Connor Harrell was informed that they were going to go get a quarterback in the portal too. So none of those things, because now they're looking at kids. Now they're bringing kids in, which I'm sure is the next thing on the list you're going to talk about. But they're bringing kids in for, as we're recording this today, there's a kid taking a visit. An offensive lineman from North Texas. They have a couple of offensive linemen from North Texas that they have offered. So now that's the next step. So maybe they don't end up losing as many guys as we thought. I think more than anything, maybe they lose guys to the NFL. That was maybe 50-50 with Tez being one. We'll wait and see what Bryson Nesbitt announces. And of course, the Drake stuff. We've already discussed that a lot. So
yeah, stay tuned. Keep it locked to TarHeelIllustrated.com because you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, and Cedric has said 1,000 times. Cedric technically could come back into the year because of the COVID year, but he almost went last year. So
it's a good time for him to go. I think his stock's
well, he's already said, his stock's not going to get any higher. Now, some guys like Kamen Rucker might come back for a couple of reasons. One, Kamen's an academic guy.
Yep.
So a year of grad school at North Carolina would be a very good thing for him, and it's something he would appreciate and use to his advantage. The other reason is maybe there's still aspects of his game that have to improve. He's a football player, and I think he could play in the NFL right now. But a lot of teams would shy away against him because he doesn't have the right specs. He doesn't fit the suit, so to speak. And there are still way too many decision makers in the league that go according to specs, and he doesn't kind of fit into some of those specs, but he's a damn football player.
Yeah.
So maybe he uses this year like Tamon Fox used last year to get himself into the NFL. And maybe Kamen will do that. So, but we don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of the stuff's gone dark with the program, and that's fine. I think that these kids need time and the time to make the decision without, guys like me hanging out in the KFC meaning Keene Football Center, not restaurant. They don't need us hanging around for a while. Let them figure this crap out for themselves. Yeah,
no doubt about it, especially with the a few weeks in between the final regular season game and the bowl game. You kind of expect it from, and like you said, everybody probably needs a little bit of a break, yourself included, with basketball going on. So, but you mentioned portal
I went shopping with my wife yesterday.
Yeah, man, but she probably ain't done that in a year.
We actually went out to eat in a place where we sat down, ordered from somebody, they brought it to us, and then we paid and then left.
Man, you're living in the real world now, AJ. That was probably it's a big step for you right there.
She must have been sitting there like Admiral Stockdale in the 92 vice presidential debate. Who am I? Why am I here?
Yeah,
who is this man across from me?
Like
who is this guy that's spending time with me? He's not very attractive.
Hey, man, you got to take advantage of those days when you get them, because they're few and far between in the job you work in. So I'm glad you did get to do that a little bit. But AJ, talking about additions, Johnson being the main guy and the only guy everybody's talking about right now. Texas A&M transfer quarterback, 2 years of eligibility left. Carolina got him super early in the portal, and I remember having some text messages with you earlier this week when we were trying to figure out when we were going to do this podcast, and you'd be like, I've been crunching some numbers. I know you put a piece out on TarHeelIllustrated.com. Go check that out about Johnson coming in. And I'll ask you two things. A, are you surprised they got him as early as they did? Because I think that was the main frustration or confusion amongst Carolina fans of like, the portal just opened. Why are you getting this guy right now? You don't even know who's going to be out there yet, really. And B, I remember you were texting me and being like, this makes sense to me for a lot of different reasons. So talk to me a little bit about Max Johnson. Because again, I think it's like it's one that I don't think Carolina fans are that excited about. And I don't know if I don't necessarily know the reason for that, but talk to me a little bit about why it makes sense in your opinion.
Well, it hasn't been stellar.
Yeah, I think maybe if you're just somebody who looks at the stats, you'll be like, you know what I mean? Especially when you compare him to Drake May or Sam Howell or something like that. So
especially after having 5 years of Sam and Drake at the behind center. Yeah. I can understand that, but people have to understand that a lot of these decisions that the staff makes have so many prongs to them. And one of the things that I think a lot of fans understand, but they maybe need to understand better, is the collective that Carolina has. They only have so much money they can go out and buy guys. Some of the schools could just pay whoever, whatever it needs. They have so much money in the collective, they could figure out ways to guarantee X amount of dollars, and they're not technically allowed to guarantee anything. However, a guy like Max Johnson, his dad's Brad Johnson. He played in the NFL 15 years, won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. So there's tons of money. This, my understanding is, for the most part, this is not a massive NIL situation. So a program that is somewhat constricted with its NIL has to be very wise in how it goes about spending that NIL money. So if you can get an experienced quarterback who has played really well at times, has the bloodlines, and is a game manager and has a tremendous competitive spirit, if you could bring a guy like that in without having to spend much money, you can then use money on other parts to improve the team for 2024. For example, offensive line. They're bringing in offensive linemen for visits. They're offering much. Defensive line, same thing. Some other positioning groups as well. And it looks like they're going to have to bring in a running back as well. So and linemen cost a lot of money. I know that speaking to somebody deep inside the program last spring and summer, they said, look, offensive lineman, a starting offensive lineman is going to cost you $600,000.
Wow.
At least. That was then. It's probably more now.
Jesus Christ.
Because they are incredibly important. And you've seen with the development of offensive linemen at Carolina, it's not the easiest thing to do.
No.
There's more attrition in that position group than any other, because it's the one position group in which there's guaranteed on virtually every snap you're having helmet contact. So those are the guys that have most of the death marks on their helmets after a game than anybody else. Constant helmet contact. It is a very demanding job to have, is to be an offensive lineman. So there's a lot of attrition. There's more guys that retire midstream in college in that position group than any other on the field. So Max Johnson didn't cost a whole lot. Max Johnson has 4 years of college experience. He's got 2 years of eligibility left because he used the COVID year. And then his first year at Texas A&M, he was a starter and got hurt after 4 games, so he was able to redshirt. So you got a guy who's got 2 years left. You got a guy who doesn't cost a whole lot of money. You got a guy that's got bloodlines. And his dad played for Clyde Christensen for a year in Tampa. Christensen was the offensive coordinator in 2001, I believe it was. And I guess it was the next year that Tampa won the Super Bowl. Christensen went to Indianapolis, where he spent a lot of time. He coached Peyton Manning there. And then Andrew Luck. So there's a connection. There's a known commodity. And I also would not be surprised if we're sitting across from Mack at some point in January or February, and he's talking about a little bit of shift in offensive approach, a little bit more game management, quarterback, a little more power running game, more guys in the box, using 2 tight ends a lot to plow forward and to be able to run from both edges and show those kinds of looks. And you have a game manager there. Another thing is, in 4 years as a quarterback, Max Johnson's only thrown 12 interceptions. So I went back and looked at a ton of his games. He's not going to run for a bunch of first downs, but he gets rid of the ball. He's a guy that doesn't throw the ball into the hands of the opposition. So he gets rid of the ball. He's got a lot of throwaways, which is better than an interception or a near pick. And he's a decision guy. And he's a game manager guy. And with Omarion, provided that they come up with enough cash, and it looks like there's a good chance that they will, they've got that kind of run game. So let's I'm sure they're thinking that let's go get us a couple linemen, get us a center so we can keep William Lampkin at guard. And they're looking at a center from North Texas as well. And let's run behind that. Let's have a game manager. Let's have a guy who can distribute the ball to dudes who can run to these all different slots, because they're going to have Paysour, they're going to have McCollum, they're going to have some guys like Culliver, I think, will be on the field a lot next year. So get the ball in the hands of dudes who can run with the ball, run people over with the ball, and make stuff happen, and keep that defense off the field some. Let's not forget, the last time Mack coached a football game 2 weeks ago against NC State, the Wolfpack had the ball for 40
minutes
of possession time.
Yeah.
So So I think this signals a little bit of a change in approach offensively. Not a dramatic one, but a change. And I guess it makes sense in that respect.
No, I can definitely see it when you put
and
all
the
this
people talking about Harold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't even mention Harold too. I mean, I would.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing.
Competition there potentially. I don't think it's guaranteed that he starts.
It might be billed that way, but Connor Hill's not been consistent.
Yeah, it's true.
After the week after the Campbell game, which was the week of Clemson. Mm-hmm. We had our Monday presser with Mack, and I asked him about Connor getting more consistent because everything that publicly and privately has been said by different people is that he's had a terrible time finding consistency. So I gave Mack an opportunity after Campbell when Connor had a little bit of success against Campbell. I asked him, has he become that consistent guy in practice that you've been looking for? And Mack's response was that he's had a good 2 weeks. So you're in November and your said backup had a good 2 weeks in practice. He's been there almost 2 years. And the word before was that he wasn't very consistent in practice. That to me, that means he still wasn't consistent. So there would be a lot of danger in making him the guy and holding out for him to get the job done next year. Max Johnson is an upgrade over what everybody knows about Connor Hill at this point. He's a significant upgrade.
Yeah.
That's the other part of the equation.
I think it makes sense. And again, we'll see what happens. Do you think there's no chance Carolina gets anybody else quarterback wise in the portal? Could we?
I don't see it. No.
You don't see it.
You don't bring in a guy like Max Johnson and pose for photos with Max and his 15-year NFL dad, and bring in somebody else. So they Harrell, I don't think will leave. They have Johnson, Harrell, and Hudson in the program. Plus, they're going to have Michael Merdinger come in as a true freshman. He's enrolling in January. And the other thing about having 2 years of Johnson is you give Merdinger a year and a half to rep.
Yeah.
You give Merdinger a year and a half he only started 1 year in high school, so he needs a ton of reps. He really needs a couple of years in practice. Mm-hmm. And Johnson can give him those couple of years, but next year in 25, you'll have Bryce Baker in there for a year as a backup as well. So you're setting up a scenario where Baker and Merdinger, Baker going into year 2, Merdinger going to year 3, where they'll battle for the quarterback position. And they're different level talents. They're a lot closer to the Drake, Sam type of player, maybe than they are what some people might view right now as Max Johnson, although Max Johnson was pretty high rated coming out. He wasn't a Rivals 250, but he was very close. Mm-hmm. So that's if a lot of these decisions are made thinking about the future down the road. It's like you're at this intersection, but you've got to get 19 blocks down the road, but you got to make 3 or 4 turns to get to where you got to go. Right now, they're thinking about those turns and calibrating how long it's going to take to get there. Do I have enough gas? All that kind of stuff. And down the road is ultimately the Merdinger-Baker battle for the starting quarterback job.
Yeah, which is why I think it makes sense for a lot of different reasons. And I think as we get closer, I think fans will be a little bit more high on him. And I think some probably are by now, but it wasn't the best reception when he committed. But
yeah, I think people are going to be high until he plays and say they see him play well. Because look, let's face it, he wasn't the starter when the season began for Texas A&M. Yeah. He lost out to a guy named Connor Wegman. Now, part of that was Johnson got hurt again last year. His first year at A&M 2 years ago, he was a starter, and then he was injured and was out for the year. Knee injury, I think it was. And then last year he replaced Wegman, who got hurt and was struggling against. Gosh, I can't remember who it was. But then Johnson was the starter. He broke a rib against South Carolina, and a week later broke 2 against Ole Miss, and then his season ended. Mm-hmm. So he played 4 games and his season ended 2 years ago. He played 8 games last year and his season ended. Mm-hmm. Last year, meaning this season, 2023. Mm-hmm. He only played 12 games at A&M, and he was banged up. And the guy that he beat out in 2 years ago in 22 was the guy named Haynes King, who just had a great year at Georgia Tech. So he beat him out. Mm-hmm. So change of scenery, new offense, new system, better skill around you, and in a program that's not a chaotic mess like A&M was, maybe all that could lead to a pretty good couple of years for Max Johnson.
Agreed. Yeah, I think when you spell it out like that, it makes a lot of sense. So we'll see what happens with him. And obviously, as we get to know him a little bit better and get to see him in action eventually. But again, I think for a lot of different reasons, when there's a lot of different factors that go into it that you spelled out. And when you spell it out like that, it makes a lot of sense for a ton of different reasons. So coaches on the trail, AJ, obviously big recruiting time for Carolina coaches as well. Just talk a little bit about that for a second. I know that's maybe more Miss Dina King's expertise when it comes to that recruiting side, but out there recruiting, I mean, that's pretty normal ahead of a bowl game, I think. And with that, kind of gap that the team has between, again, the final regular season game and the bowl game on December 27th.
Yeah, because there's not a ton of inside information at this point. What the live recruiting period opened up last Friday. Yep. And I guess that was December 1st, wasn't it?
Yeah.
December 1st?
I think we talked about that at some point on something.
Yeah. And the coaches have been out meeting one-on-one, meeting in person with all the kids that are committed that they plan on signing. There's 27.
A lot of kids, yeah.
So they've already visited most all of them. There's still a couple more to visit. And then I think what's interesting is it gives Mack opportunity to be in a car with different assistant coaches for a long period of time, just Mack and that coach. And as Mack joked a couple weeks ago, I got them in. They can't hop out of the car when I'm talking to them. So people that have been in a rush for Mack to make coaching decisions, pump the brakes. He's got to talk to everybody. He's got to recruit. He's got to do the portal. He's got to do his committed kids because they're signing soon. And Mack generally waits till after bowl games to make moves.
Which I think is probably the right thing to do for different reasons.
I agree. Longo left on his own last year before.
It's different if a guy's already leaving, made his mind up kind of thing. Yeah.
So they're just checking those kids out. We've heard from most of the kids. Mm-hmm. They've told us who came to see him and all that stuff. We've got to throw on the board about that. So that's a time-consuming thing because a lot of these kids are in Tennessee. They got to get to Tennessee, fly,
a lot of travel.
Maybe fly and then drive when they get there, get a rental car, or they just drive all the way and like they're barnstorming essentially.
Georgia.
So
a lot of
yeah. So that's good. I like what coaches do. They have to secure those kids. There were some rumors about one guy maybe possibly flipping, but that was squashed. Mm-hmm. And so they just have to reaffirm the commitments, that kind of thing. It's a very busy time for the coaches, but at a very important time. I'm sure that it's not the most fun in the world, but it's a very important time because they got to secure those kids that have committed.
Yeah, no, of course. Very, very, very crucial. And again, not a lot of time to do that during the season. This is the time where you have to hit it, especially with that opening up last Friday as well. So real quickly, we are going to hit on the bowl game for a second. Before we do that, want to give a thank you to Underdog Fantasy. Big thank you to them for sponsoring this show. And Underdog Fantasy, we've seen a lot of our subscribers signing up for it using that promo code HEAL. Keep doing that. We really appreciate it. And it's super easy to use. All you have to do is go on the app and go pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total than what is listed. Just do that with 2 to 5 players and you're in business. And if you go 5 for 5, you can 20x your money. I'll give you a quick example. I always use the Sam Howell example because he's kind of the main Tar Heel in the league right now playing for the Commanders. Let's say he's set to throw for 200 yards this week. Let's say that's where Underdog has him set. You pick whether you think he'll go higher or lower. Let's say you're feeling good about it. You think he'll throw for 250. You pick higher. He hits that number, or he just throws anything higher than 200 and you win. It's that simple, guys. It's really not hard at all. And I think that's what's the biggest draw when it comes to Underdog. It's so easy to play and everybody can do it. So again, if you haven't yet, check them out. Because when you sign up, you can get your first deposit doubled up to $100 using that promo code HEAL. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or just check them out in the App Store and make sure you use that promo code HEAL when you sign up. Links in the description below. Must be 18 plus. Present in a state, where Underdog Fantasy operates. If you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ncpgambling.org. Big thank you to Underdog for sponsoring the show. Again, links in the description below to go ahead and get involved over there. But AJ, real quickly, we are going to hit on the bowl game just for a second before we head on out of here. West Virginia coming up in the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, finished 8-4, 6-3 in Big 12 play. That game is set for December 27th at 5:30 p.m. in Bank of America Stadium. So Tar Heels back in Charlotte. Nice for us. Don't have to travel. Really nice for you, especially this time of year. Don't have to travel across the country to go attend the Holiday Bowl or something like that. So I'm sure Tar Heel Illustrated will be very well attended. It's in a nice time too. A couple days after Christmas, a few days before New Year's. It's a good time to have a bowl game, but I think it's a good matchup. I think it's an interesting matchup for a lot of different reasons. We'll have to wait and see on some guys and who actually plays in the bowl game, with obviously Drake May being one of the big guys when it comes to that. But yeah, I think it's a intriguing matchup, and should be one that fans should be somewhat excited about. I mean, easy to get to, and again, a good team. I had flashbacks to the 08 or 09? I can't remember when Carolina played West Virginia in the Meineke Car Bowl.
It was 08.
08, right?
It was 08.
King Nick's catch. That was the first video I tweeted out because that was the first thing that came to mind from that game. I remember watching that one as a kid as well. I wasn't there, but I remember watching that one on TV. So a little bit of nostalgia mixed in there too, a little throwback as well. But I think it's a fine bowl game. I think it's exciting for a few different reasons.
Yeah, I get that. Last year I had to fly to San Diego on a Monday. The game was a Tuesday. Fly from San Diego to Pittsburgh on a Wednesday. Basketball game on a Thursday. Fly home on a Friday.
Fun, to be honest with you.
I know nobody feels sorry for us, but that was a grind.
A little bit easier when you can just drive 2.5 hours to Charlotte, right?
My gauge is the fan base is not even lukewarm excited about this right now, because
I was trying to hype them up with it, cool matchup.
Feels like I think the matchup is interesting. These are schools that should play more often. West Virginia should be in the ACC.
Yep,
it's a no-brainer.
Makes more sense than SMU and Cal, but another day. Won't talk about that today.
We live in now. Yeah, that's the kind of world where I become a model, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the logic behind all that's like, you know what? Let's put AJ on a catwalk.
Yeah, why not?
Go ahead and model it.
Makes sense. Yeah, because it makes a ton of sense to do that, right?
Yeah, makes me think of the male modeling scene in the movie Slapshot early on. I might have fit in with those guys. But I think that people are not excited about going to Charlotte. It's a letdown. The Mayo Bowl, like, good gracious, people were thinking CFP. They were thinking Orange Bowl at the very least, and then it's Mayo Bowl, and they get jumped over for some other bowl games because of where they finished. They finished 7th in the league. They're getting the bowl game they deserve. Yeah, to be honest with you. And they're getting an opponent that is pretty meh in most areas, but they run the ball well. And when I started looking at stats, first thing I thought was, oh boy, the fans are going to love this. This is going to be more exciting. Great. The number 3 rushing attack in the country is West Virginia. So
I didn't know that.
Good,
so that,
good luck, guys.
A little bit less confident now going into
seriously. It's I tweeted that out. I put it on the board. People are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. You got to be kidding me.
Again, I mean, yeah. It's not the bowl game fans wanted. It's not. But again, I tried to hype the fans up earlier. A little nostalgia, not good time period.
They would be better off going to
them either. So.
I got to be honest with you. I know that some people may disagree with this, but because of the way things played out, they just need to win a damn game.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
So this is a very losable game. This is an 8-4 team. This is a club that's 6-3 in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm. It's a good team.
This is a club that's got 3 road wins, I think, this year. This is a good team. It's meh statistically in a lot of areas, but it's not horrific in any area. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they're comparably to Carolina, they're a good team. I think Carolina can be a good team at times too. There was a time where they were much better than good.
They were a really good team at one point. Yeah,
but I said after the NC State game, I think when we did the 3 things, look, they need to play, Louisiana Tech in some bowl or somebody like that.
Be able to beat somebody.
Duke is playing Troy now. They're playing them in Birmingham, which is where Troy's located, but they're still playing Troy.
Yeah,
Duke should line up and just run the ball, stop the run, win that game. Right, put some pressure on the quarterback, win that game. It's almost like Carolina really needed one like that, just so they could beat somebody.
Just feel good going into the offseason.
Mack could hold up a trophy, and he could say, "We're the Birmingham Bowl or Gasparilla Bowl champions or whatever the damn things are named now.
You change it every year.
But this is actually going to be a competitive game. And I think from a purely football standpoint, disregard the fact that it's a bowl game that is less than what Carolina fans expected and hoped for. This is still an opportunity to see them play a formative enough opponent that a win over West Virginia would be a good win.
Yeah.
It would also be the 9th win. It would be just the 3rd time since Mack left the first time that they have 9 wins in this season. So I know that the mantra in the offseason, the motto was 9 isn't enough. I wrote at least 2 stories about it. We talked about it. I've asked Mack and the players about it, and now they can't reach any of their goals. But they have a new one. That's to win a 9th game. That's to win your bowl game. And also beat a program somewhat in the region, if that means anything. That's about it. As far as who may or may not play, we know Cedric is more than likely not playing. He told me that a couple weeks ago. I posted that on our board, by the way. So TarHeelIllustrated.com, $8.33 a month. If you sign up, you get lots of stuff like that, either that never make its way to these shows or a lot later makes its way to these shows.
Links in the description.
But who knows? I mean, Tez told me last week that he was looking forward to
you just never know,
catching passes for Max Johnson. Next thing you know, he's in the NFL draft.
Heck, some of these kids might
or he's playing the Senior Bowl and in the NFL draft. So we never know.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an opportunity if they do win this game. Mack can push and say, hey, we beat West Virginia. We had be a club that went 6-3 in the Big 12. It's a pretty good program. Number 3 rushing offense in the country. So Mack, who is brilliant at milking things, would have an opportunity to milk that for 8 months, and he will, because that's the way he is. Nobody should be surprised by it. And quite frankly, I think it's better to be a guy that does that and is and speaks as much about things as he does and can be very proactive than to do things the way the commissioner of the ACC does, where he is as quiet as a church mouse about all things FSU and everything else going on, which is a disgrace and a different topic for a different time.
You're right, though, man.
Jim Phillips is a nice man. I know I've sidebarred the living crap out of this podcast here, but Jim Phillips is a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a gentleman. My interactions with him have been fantastic. I imagine he's a wonderful neighbor. Imagine he's a wonderful family man and all that kind of stuff, and a wonderful employee and all that kind of junk. But as a commissioner of the ACC, he failed Florida State miserably, failed the league, and then the debacle about the squabbling over who's going to go to what bowl game. He had platforms to use he didn't use. No statement about that. Nothing since then about that for FSU. And FSU Nation is memeing the crap out of them going to another league. And he's just to sit there and just let that happen without addressing it. He should have brought in all the ADs and school presidents into Charlotte this week, sat down and said, okay, A, I screwed up. B, can't do anything about it now. Let's develop a plan moving forward. We have got to promote ourselves better. We have got ACC had a winning record against SEC, winning record against Big Ten, more wins against those 2 leagues than the rest of college football combined. And the commissioner never said a damn word about it. So I'm sorry for sidebarring. Yeah. And I'm not pulling a Mack here where sometimes he'll use an opportunity with the media to insert his thoughts about a certain situation going on. It's smart that he does that. This actually just popped into my head. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah, we talked about it before for a while.
I had no plan on getting into it here, but I just think it's pathetic how he handled stuff. He's got to be better than that.
You made me laugh.
He's got to be better than that. He failed Florida State. Mm-hmm. He failed the school that gets the most eyeballs in football. Mm-hmm. He failed the school that's chirping like crazy already about leaving. Yeah. Like, come on, man.
You gotta, especially. I mean, it's wild. You cracked me up though. You said I bet he's a great neighbor, and that's a great way. He probably is, man. But when it comes to the commissioner, how do you not say anything?
If he gets something in his mailbox that actually should have gone to you, but the mail person made a mistake, he'll take it to your house and he'll tell you.
Yeah,
that's a great neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he won't say a damn thing to the CFP committee. He won't go on TV and tout Florida State.
I just don't understand what he does.
Examples. He should have been the first guy saying that day, wait a minute. So not having Jordan Travis, I get it. They're not the same team. So you're going to say Alabama, they're not as good as Alabama now because they don't have Jordan Travis. But you rated them 5th and Georgia 6th. Are you saying they're better than Georgia without Jordan Travis? What the hell kind of logic is that?
Yeah, just
and especially when an AD in your own conference then says with respect to SMU and Tulane or Liberty, well, they took Liberty because they just kept winning games. When everybody in the world knows SMU's a better team.
It's crazy.
So they didn't apply the same logic. But your commissioner, who has an AD in his conference right down the road in the same state with a charter member school, is head of the CFP, and you don't say a word?
Especially when you have your own propaganda network, and you can go on the ACC network and talk for 7 hours. I mean, ain't got nothing better to show this time of year. Like, come on, man.
He could have called every sports TV show and radio show in America and said, I want to be on. And they would have put him on right away.
Oh, God, yeah.
He could have called a sports talk show in Boise, Idaho, and been put on the air 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
He could have done that. He didn't do any of it.
Jim, if you want to come
Joe Ovius and Joe Giglio have the OG podcast. Joe Ovius, Joe Giglio have the OG podcast, and they hit on this earlier in the week. And I don't comment a lot through our Twitter handle about a lot of these things, especially they're not UNC related, but I do believe this is UNC related because it affects the entire conference.
Yeah, of course.
And I do think that the low-hanging fruit response is, it's just disrespect to the ACC. It might be a little bit of that, but I think it was more, hey, they're not as good without him, and the committee didn't want to have to deal with picking either Texas or Alabama, even though it was a no-brainer. Alabama lost at home by 10 points, Texas, end of discussion, right? Should be a simple thing. But they complicated. They made it not so simple. So they went ahead and said, take those two. They're not the same team. We can get away with their crap instead of Texas or Oklahoma crap, which is bigger crap, I guess. But they had a really, really good exchange about this. You guys should look it up.
As well. It was good. It was good. I actually listened to it as well.
Joe Ovius nailed it. Joe nailed it. I would go check it out. If this is something you're still interested in, I am, because I think there's a lasting effect here, especially now that the commissioner has made given this story significant legs. Yeah. And another prong because he hasn't done anything.
It's crazy.
And if Florida State people want to leave the league, I get it because they don't feel like they're getting supported right now.
No, I just don't get it.
He ain't got their back. He's done nothing to show he's got their back.
I just don't.
I'm off my soapbox.
No, you're
climbing down. Sorry, I'm climbing down.
You're right.
Look, I covered the league. I've covered the league for a long time. I haven't just covered North Carolina. I covered the league when I was at Fox Sports. I was their national guy covering the league, regional national guy covering the league. I covered it for a national startup. I covered it at the Wilmington Star News for a long time. I have people in Tallahassee that I know. I know one of the media relations people over there. You know him too. And I introduced Chelsea to him last week, in fact. I know a lot of stuff about what's going on down there. And I know a lot of people throughout the league because I've covered the league a lot longer than I've covered just North Carolina in this job. And right now would be a very difficult time to cover the league because it's impossible to cover this conference without constantly going back to what happened last week.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's the story. That's such a bigger story than what happens on the fields and courts right now. Yeah. Because he's still sitting there. Not doing it. And there's like an act of defiance for some reason. I don't know why he didn't do something.
It doesn't make any sense. It's literally, I don't know how you can get paid all that money to be an ACC commissioner and then something like this happens and you don't do anything. It's negligence, really. I mean, it's like, that's your job. It's your job.
Yeah, but since we're going here, I can say this.
What does he do?
His first press conference, like at the first ACC football kickoff when he was commissioner, after that thing was over, man, we're walking out of there. A lot of guys in the media are just kind of looking, shaking hands like, man, that guy's not very impressive. And I'm not making it personal. It's just as a commissioner. Like I said, the people that know Jim Phillips, man, there's a reason he got the job because you can't get more people to back you and give a letter, write a letter of recommendation for this amazing dude because he checks all those boxes. But you don't have to be an amazing dude to be a commissioner of a conference, especially in these times. Greg Sankey's probably not an amazing dude. No, but he's an ass kicker.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you want somebody who's going to stand up for the conference. I mean, that's your main job. It's just, I just don't get how you cannot say anything. I mean, it's just mind boggling to me. Conspiracy theories start popping up.
And still not.
You mole for the Big Ten or something? Like, what are we doing?
And still not say anything. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just, it frustrates me. It doesn't make sense. He should be staying at the Hampton Inn in West Tallahassee right now. Yeah, you can imagine get up in the morning, you go down there, and there's Jim Phillips, got the processed eggs, got the floppy bacon, got the coffee's good.
Coffee's solid.
And having a coffee and sitting there, and he's kind of gathering his thoughts because he's going to have to go into the Inferno down the road over FSU and try to appease things. He's got to fill up with some Hampton Inn breakfast strength.
Yeah,
it's fuel. I mean, seriously, he should be there every morning. The people at the desk should, hey, Commissioner, he walks in.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
He should be anchored there until he figures something out.
Mm-hmm.
And what can be done? I don't know. I think right now you just have to mend fences. You just have to show that you give a crap.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes we don't know about. But dude, the first thing should be make a statement.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
make a statement.
We got kids.
We got walk-ons hitting the portal, and they release a long thing on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner couldn't even do that. I'm upset. I'm outraged. Okay.
Flip your iPhone around and record a video for 2 minutes, blasting the committee and put it on Twitter. I mean, it doesn't take, you don't have to have a production crew. I mean, just
do this. Show FSU you care about them.
Yeah. Just do something, man. Just do something. I mean, that's the thing. Just do something. You didn't do anything. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous.
It's mind-boggling.
I don't get how you can be paid to be the commissioner of a league as much money as I'm sure he gets paid, and something like this happens and you pretty much just do nothing. I just like, what are you there for? Like, what's the point? Like, you might as well have nobody as the commissioner if you're not going to do anything in this situation. It makes zero sense. But
if you're not there, if you don't swallow a can of spinach in a moment like this, when are you going to swallow that spinach?
It just shows that it just almost like he doesn't care. Like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? Well, not my problem.
Well, Stanford's got a great APR, and they're coming in.
Fucking hell, man. Don't even get me started on the expansion stuff.
Cal cares about social causes. They're coming in. I mean, there's too much of that going on, and there's nothing wrong with that stuff at all. It's part of it. But the number one priority, number one obligation is to win on the football field, win on the basketball court. The league wasn't formed for social purposes. The league wasn't formed so they can share research. The league was formed to play football and basketball. That's why it was formed. That's why it's still there. You think Oregon is going to the Big Ten because they want to be aligned with Piscataway, New Jersey? No. I just drove by Piscataway, or not, I flew over Piscataway. I've driven by it many times. I covered a football game there before. Ow. Eugene, Oregon, and Piscataway, New Jersey, and that's oil and vinegar.
Yeah.
Right?
Polar opposites.
But you know what? They play football, they play basketball, they make money, they're on TV. Period. Yeah. That's what it's about.
It's crazy.
All this other stuff doesn't matter. None of the other stuff matters in the grand scheme of things. None of the other stuff is going to keep anything together because the Pac-12 was great in all those areas. And it's gone because they hired a guy who had no experience. He's a Vegas guy. They hired him, and he had no idea what the hell he was doing. And he sat there and watched the oldest league in the country dissolve.
It's negligence, really. I mean, what he did is negligence. That's how I look at it. You didn't do anything. I mean, you don't care. It's negligence. You're neglecting the thing that you're supposed to be running, the thing that you're supposed to be standing up for, and the thing that you're supposed to be the head of, and you were hired to be the head of.
Remember 2 years ago, we thought a year and a half ago, we thought the Big 12 was done.
Yeah.
And then the new commissioner, Brett Yormark, comes in and he's like, okay, I have cans of Popeye every day. I got a stash right here in my glove compartment. I got a bag over my shoulder. There's a can in there. And I'm a muscle flexor. And look at what he's done. He saved the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Everyone was wondering, my gosh, can you imagine Iowa State and Kansas State might not be Power 5? Might be a power conference.
I know, yeah.
Now it's Oregon State and Washington State. Next, it could be Wake Forest and NC State. Mm-hmm. Or NC State will probably have a landing spot in the Big 12. But I'm just saying there'll be teams in the ACC that won't have that.
I know.
If they're not careful.
Exactly. It's a shame. It really is a shame. Yeah. It's just.
I mean, this is kind of the. Yeah, I don't want to go any further into it. I'm going way too long on this, and I had no intention on talking about it, but it is very disturbing. And it does affect Carolina.
Of course it does, yeah.
It affects Carolina.
It affects the ACC. It affects North Carolina because they're in the ACC right now. So, I mean, it's that simple. There's a easy correlation to make right there. So, yeah, I mean, we could spend another hour talking about this, but I think the points that we needed to get across have been made, and we'll see what happens.
I should get Friedlander on here. Brett Friedlander,
man.
Saturday Road, almost covering the league. I just say, okay, Brett, like Kramer. Remember Kramer was doing his own voice. I can't remember exactly the episode, but people would call up. He'd say, "Go."
Just let him roll. Just let him roll, man.
My good buddy Taylor Zarzer back in the day, he does SEC Network and ESPN and golf. He does a golf show on Sirius XM. He had a radio show in town, and I'll never forget. NC State had a half. I think they went up to St. John's in basketball, had like 12 points at the half, and at like 18 with 10 minutes left or something. It was a terrible performance. Well, one of Herb Sendik's teams, and he went in the next morning and just said, "Okay, tell us your thoughts." And he just sat back for 2 hours like this, basically.
Oh, I love it.
As NC State fan after NC State fan called in and just raked Herb over the coals, and it was brilliant radio.
That's awesome. That's the kind of stuff you want to listen to right there, man.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, maybe we'll do another podcast at some point talking
West Virginia football bowl game, Mayo.
Yeah, exciting times.
Charlotte,
exciting times. December 27th, 5 p.m. kickoff.
Number 3 rushing offense.
Yeah, should be a interesting game for the Tar Heels. Hopefully they win it, but who knows what's going to happen in that one. But keep it locked to TarHeelIllustrated.com.
Is that it for the West Virginia game?
Yeah, that's all I got to say about it. I mean, we'll obviously do a preview.
We have plenty of time to talk about it. Yeah, I've been digging up some stuff for a piece, and I got to say this, since we've completely steered this thing into the Pacific. Did you know that Don Knotts went to West Virginia? I was looking at famous alums. Don Knotts went to West Virginia.
Did not know that.
Barney freaking Fife. There's the North Carolina West Virginia connection. There's the North Carolina West Virginia connection. You got the Mayberry Sheriff's deputy.
I like
went to West Virginia.
Andy Griffith show's a hell of a show.
Yeah, Andy Griffith went to Carolina.
Yep.
Think about it. So that sheriff's office in Mayberry had the Tar Heels versus the Mountaineers right there in that office.
Man. What a connection.
And now that's the bowl game. So what they should do is the losing team should have to wear like if Carolina loses, they should wear like a Don Knotts mask.
Yeah.
Or wear a Don Knotts patch on their jersey. And if West Virginia loses, have to wear an Andy Griffith. Or better yet, Aunt B. Make him wear Aunt B.
I like that. That's a good idea. No, I didn't realize he went there. The Barney Fife one makes sense.
It's the epitome of the Mayberry Bowl.
Yeah, maybe should rename it the Duke's Mayo Mayberry Bowl. The Duke's Mayberry Bowl. Ooh,
Mayo-berry Bowl.
I have to email the Duke's whoever the contact is over there about that. Just give them. I need royalties on that. But
and the trophy should be Aunt B spread mayonnaise on a turkey sandwich she's making for Andy.
I like that.
That she's gonna walk down to the station and give to him.
I like that, man. Great show. Great show, by the way.
As Otis wakes up from his drunken stupor in the jail cell.
Mm-hmm. Might be the greatest theme song of all time too. Love that theme song. Sometimes I'll just play it on YouTube just take me back a little bit, a little nostalgia. You know what I mean? When
I was a kid, I always wanted to go back there and pick up that rock that Opie picked up. And skip rocks.
Just you talk about when you watch that show, man. Just nostalgia. Just pop.
So that's it. It's the Mayo-berry Bowl.
I like that. We'll contact the Duke's Mayo Bowl media people and just let them know. Go ahead and change it to this. Just need royalties on that. You know. I don't need a ton of % off any sales, but I need something because that's a hell of an idea right there, AJ. I'll get some free mayo there too. Free mayonnaise. Giving that out.
I don't like Duke's Mayo mayonnaise.
You realize, AJ, the season started with Duke's Mayo and is ending with Duke's Mayo. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest with you.
And what happens to mayonnaise if you open up the jar and just leave it there like that? Or what happens if you open the jar, stick it in the fridge, in the back of the fridge, you forget about it? What was that game, 4 months ago?
Yeah.
And then you open up the jar like, whoa.
Yeah. I got
some people might say some people might say that's a metaphor for how this season went.
Yeah. I came home with 6 jars of mayonnaise from that game because I was the last person in the photo room. And there was a whole stack of mayonnaise that nobody took. And I just stuffed as many as I could in my backpack, gave them out to the family, got a few in my pantry. Probably not good anymore, but pretty cool. Got the South Carolina UNC logo on there.
I've got the Mayo Bowl from a couple of years ago thing over here, but I don't like to open it.
I'm more of a Hellman's guy too.
Okay, so I was somewhere and I didn't have Hellman's, and I grabbed a little small thing of Duke's. Oh, it's brutal.
Yeah, I like Hellman's.
It's like sweet.
Yeah, some people fight you on it. Some people get real defensive.
I know, especially here in the South. Well, you're not a real Southerner if you don't like Duke's. No, that's not true.
Hellman's.
I don't like Duke's.
Hellman's all day long. It's better. No disrespect to Dukes. Love what you're doing, but Hellman's all day long. And that's
I'd like
all
to know
say about that.
I'd like to know if there's any Southerner that likes Hellman's over Dukes. Because I don't want the pro Dukes people to sharpen their swords and come after us.
I tweeted it out that Hellman's was better, I think, when Carolina got announced that they were playing South Carolina years ago in the bowl game. And there wasn't a lot of people on board with me. There was a few, but I stick by it. I've been eating Hellman's since I was a kid. Give me Hellman's over Dukes any day of the week.
All right. Okay, I was raised in Northern Virginia, and trust me, it's the South.
Yeah, it's the South.
Especially then. I don't like sweet tea. I don't like Duke's mayonnaise. What else did I not like? What's other sweet stuff or Southern stuff?
Southern stuff. I mean, is pimento cheese considered a Southern thing? I don't think that's kind of a Southern. Is that not Southern?
We had it in our house. My dad ate it. I never really was a big fan.
I always think pimento cheese when I think Southern for some reason. Fried green tomato. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's I've had that before. It's got to be dipped. It's got to be dipped in a lot of stuff. Yeah, BLT is definitely. I had my aunt in Jones County, my cousin Percy, because my dad was born and raised in Wilmington. It's more Southern connections. But she had was a bologna and mayonnaise sandwich.
I do like some fried bologna now. Ooh, I love some fried bologna.
Yeah, that's Southern. I had that before when I visited her back in the day. I like grits.
Grits are solid.
I don't like sweet tea. I don't like any tea. I can't stand tea.
I like sweet tea. Regular tea, I'm nasty, but sweet tea I can drink. Sweeter the better. Sweeter the better for me. Little mayo and tomato sandwich. That's a big thing. It's a Southern thing right there.
Yeah. I love tomatoes.
Yeah, so I can eat that.
I just couldn't put turkey in there. You know, I got have turkey in it.
Little green bean casserole.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not a big green bean casserole guy. It's okay. I just rather just take green beans, like Blue Lake green beans, whatever they are, the Del Monte green beans.
Yep.
Just eat them as is.
I used to hate green beans. Now I love them.
What are some other Southern things? I don't even know. Which is like off the top of my head.
And I've lived in the South my whole life, so that's not.
Yeah. It's
a great thing. Bojangles.
Not a Bojangles guy.
I love Bojangles. I knew you didn't because you're health conscientious a lot more than I am.
Well, it's not so much that. I mean, the reason I got to a point where I had to lose a lot of weight because I wasn't quite health conscientious for a long time, but it's the seasoning I can't stand. But remember,
you don't like that Cajun kind of.
I don't like. Hot. Yeah, I mean, I like Cajun stuff. I just don't like their seasoning.
Yeah,
I'll do some Cajun blackened fish and stuff like that any day of the week. I'll do some gumbo.
You like catfish?
I do. Oh yeah.
Yeah, catfish is good.
One of the best catfish farms in America is right there by the Shenandoah Mountains in Virginia. So up there you get great. I used to eat catfish all the time.
A little fried catfish. Oof, I love that.
It's a little blackened for fried. Yeah.
Anything fried's good, granted, but fried.
But they raise them. I mean, they raise them. It's a catfish farm essentially. They raise them there.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Check that out. I love a little catfish. I don't know how we started talking about catfish on the show, but that's where we're at right now.
Go Skyline Drive, get you some apples, get you some catfish.
Let us know on Twitter, Dukes or Hellman's. I already know what the answer is going to be, but let us know on Twitter at Hill Illustrated. Links in the description.
No, let's narrow because the Dukes people are going to destroy us, right?
Yeah, we'll probably get our credentials revoked. Yeah.
The Southerners who prefer Hellman's. So I want to hear from
you. Yeah. If you're from the South and you eat Hellman's, let us know. You prefer Hellman's, let us know.
Prefer Hellman's.
Yeah. I love mayo. Some people don't even like mayo.
I love mayo.
A lot of people, it's funny with mayo. It's a love or hate thing. I remember I dated a girl one time that couldn't even look at mayonnaise. She would gag. And there's some people that I put it on. I love it. Put on everything. Put on any sandwich I have. Got to have mayo. The more the better.
Put on everything. And by the way, Mack Brown likes mayo.
Oh, yeah.
As we bring this back to Carolina football because
Mack's a Southern guy.
I remember,
Tennessee.
Yeah, but mayo's for anywhere. But I remember his first year back around Thanksgiving time. We were asking what does your team do around Thanksgiving and stuff? And he went into talking about different things, and he said that he really likes the turkey as leftovers.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too.
Adam Smith would do a much better job at this than me, but the imitation of Mack said, but he said something about Sally making him turkey sandwiches. And he said, sometimes she just likes to put a lot of that mayo on there. She doesn't put enough on there. I want more mayo on there. He likes a little extra mayo on the turkey sandwich, and she was trying to be health conscientious and not putting as much.
It ain't great for you. It ain't great.
I know that. I know every once in a while we have fun. We in the media have fun. The Mack turkey sandwich and extra mayo comes up.
Yeah. Hey man.
Mayo, I'll tell you what, if you're low carb, mayo's fine. If you're low carb, it's olive oil and egg, right?
That's true. Yeah,
if you're low carb, mayo is perfectly fine.
Yeah, you can get the low fat or
crap out of it because it's got zero carbs.
Yeah, you can even get the ones now that are like more olive oil based. I've seen those now. I don't know what the difference is. They have a lot of different types of mayos now.
Oh, they're just trying to fake health crap. A lot of this stuff that tries to put itself as healthy is garbage.
Yeah, it's worse for you actually in reality. Yeah, especially like anything that's like sugar free or
If I ate turkey and Swiss without the bread and just dredged it in mayonnaise for 3 meals a day every day, it's not gonna hurt you. That's my doctor talks about me all the time. It's low carb.
One thing too,
and that's the kind of stuff that will get people to eat low carb. You can put a little extra mayo on there.
Yeah, mayo's international too. I went to France.
Don't be stingy.
I went to France. This is one thing that shocked me. Last thing I'll say before we end this one. Went to France a few years ago with a buddy of mine who's originally from France. Went over there for a month, traveled around the country, and they dip their French fries in mayonnaise. The mayonnaise is the ketchup. Ketchup's huge here. Mayonnaise is what you dip your fries in over there. I spent
what 9 months in Canada.
Good too.
In my previous professional life, I spent 9 months in Toronto, and they did it there. I was with my buddies. We went to some place. I don't remember what it was. We get burgers and fries and stuff, and they're dredging their fries in the mayonnaise.
I didn't hate it. I love ketchup.
I learned now. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's different, man.
If I would have projected down the road, that was another 30 pounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because the mayonnaise that kind of stuff's bad for you when you eat it with carbs. If you eat it without carbs, it's not bad for you.
Yeah. It's all about what
it really is bad. It's what you have it with. So it's like cheese the same kind of way. So yeah, they did that. All my Canadian buddies did it.
It's not bad.
I tried to play it off one time. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna dip it in mustard, dip a French fry mustard, tell them that's what we did. That's what we do down in Virginia. And they knew I was BSing.
I used to do that as a kid, man. Quickly. Mustard was my first condiment love. I used to dip my fries and everything in mustard. I don't eat as much as I used to. I'm a ketchup and a ranch guy now. But when I was a young kid and picky, mustard was my only condiment I would eat. I would dip fries in it, everything. I'll still do it every once in a while, but it really isn't as good as I used to think.
Yeah, mustard and mayonnaise on a burger, mustard on a hot dog. I don't put ketchup on hot dog. Ketchup on a hot dog is disgusting.
You don't like ketchup?
Disgusting. No, on a hot dog. Ketchup's okay. Like a little bit maybe on a burger. I'm just not big.
I love it with fries, man. I'll smother them in fries. I love it. I love it. I love ketchup. I used to not like it again. I used to be very picky, but ketchup, ranch is my vice. I put ranch on just about everything. I think that's a Southern thing too, because when I went to France, they didn't even have ranch dressing. So I think that's obviously a U.S. thing more than anything.
I like Ken's buttermilk ranch.
Yes,
it's only one carb per serving, and I'll cut up a damn cucumber, and the cucumber would be gone just because that ranch is so good.
Celery with it too is amazing.
Celery,
making me hungry. I haven't eaten lunch today, so you're making me really hungry now.
Raw broccoli, little things, broccoli florets.
Yep. You
know what? That's what I'm doing. We still have a basketball pod to do, and it's 1:09. So let's hurry up because I'm going to go to the store and get. We actually have Ken's here.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry.
You know what? We want Ken's Buttermilk Ranch or somebody to sponsor us. Get a mayonnaise. If Duke's Mayo wants to sponsor us, I'll eat Duke's Mayo.
Let us know. Let us know. We'll do it 100%.
Yeah, because we want some podcast sponsors.
Yeah,
we have other podcast sponsors, but we want some that are specific, especially to basketball, because basketball is full swing now.
Yeah,
because Underdog Fantasy is more football centric. So we need a basketball centric one. So if anybody is still listening to this, like if you're in your car and you're driving and your phone fell, and it's like under the passenger seat, and you can't change and get us off or whatever, and you're still listening. If you want to sponsor, let us know.
Reach out to us, man. Links in the description at Heel Illustrated. Just shoot us an email, man. We're interested. We'd love anybody to sponsor. 100%.
Nobody's still listening.
Yeah, nobody. But one person, maybe. Maybe one person. But, if you are listening, we appreciate it. And thank you because you are a loyal subscriber and a loyal listener.
Nobody.
Let's get on out of here.
If my mom was still alive, my mom used to listen to all my radio shows when in Wilmington. Bless her heart. She didn't know what the hell I was talking about, and she listened all the time.
I love that.
Maybe she is. Maybe she's up there listening.
Yeah, she probably is, man. She probably
she's
is.
Probably tuned
us out now.
She's in heaven, and she just looked at her watch and said, "Good grief, Andrew, get this thing done."
Yeah, even she probably tuned us out now, for being completely honest. I don't blame her one bit. I don't blame anybody one bit. If you are still listening, thank you. Hit the like button if you're still listening as well, and pat yourself on the back while you're at it too. And because, man.
And by the way, yesterday was December 7th. She was a 7-year-old girl at Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, great story. Yeah.
It was awesome. Maybe some other time we do a podcast.
Yeah, we definitely need to.
We'll do it in the off season or something.
Yeah, just sit on here and talk about that. I love World War II history, so I can do that all day long.
For anybody watching, if you're a history buff, look up the ship, the Shaw, which was the third ship sunk at Pearl Harbor. My grandfather was captain of the ship.
Oh, well.
That's why.
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
But he didn't go down with it because the ship went down before he could get to it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, it went
what
down
a story.
fast.
You got a very interesting family. You'll have to talk about it one day. I know your dad's been on some pods before. He's read a ton of books, worked for the president, all kinds of crazy, all awesome stuff, man. Just awesome stuff. Still going strong too in Wilmington. Shout out.
And then there's me going to football and basketball games.
Talking about Duke's Mayo on a UNC football podcast in the middle of December. What are we doing over here? Just get out of here.
I'm not exactly making the world a better place like they did.
Let's get on out of here because ain't nobody listening to this podcast anyway. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Another episode of the UNC Football Show. Appreciate you watching. If you're still listening, again, pat yourself on the back. Like the video below as well. Check out Underdog Fantasy 2. Links in the description below, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks.